My dad's obsession with exotic meat is tearing the family apart. So my dad has always been a kind of strange guy, but I never really noticed. I was used to it, and that's just who he is. He isn't mean but doesn't talk much, very busy with work, doesn't seem to be interested in anyone's life, that kind of thing. When I was a kid, gradually our relatives stopped visiting. My dad wasn't in contact with his family, but my mom's used to be around a lot. Then they stopped. I remember hearing my mom fighting with her parents a couple times. I gathered they didn't like my dad. I haven't seen my cousins in years. We used to be close as kids. I was never one for social media, but recently reactivated my Facebook and decided to look up some of my relatives on a whim. I messaged my cousin I was closest to, 18F, also my aunt, her mom, 40s. My cousin didn't seem to know why we hadn't seen each other, but my aunt said I should ask my mom. It wasn't the sort of thing I should hear from her, my aunt. Mind you, I'd asked my mom before a few times, she always said they were too busy to visit. I was really confused, and we ended up having a long conversation yesterday. I had to insist on a real answer. Now I am horrified at what I found out. Her family is freaked out by my dad because a few years ago when they came for dinner, this was a bunch of people, not just my aunt and cousin, they found out what he'd said was beef was actually kangaroo meat. My mom had specifically gone out of her way to make the meal herself because she knew my dad had done this before, so she banned him from cooking, but he secretly swapped the meats during some point she wasn't in the kitchen. She admitted to her family he was constantly doing this to us. Yeah, now I know I've eaten a ton of gross shit he'd said was beef or chicken. And whenever I didn't like something, it's probably because it wasn't what he said. She told me that he's been obsessed with trying exotic meats for years. Now looking back, I remember times I saw weird unlabeled meat packages in the basement freezer, I just never thought to inspect it. She said he has spent thousands and thousands of dollars in getting them. They are rare and cost a lot, plus travel costs, and paying off his contacts who pass information about where he can find whatever he's looking for. It's driven my parents to the verge of financial ruin multiple times. My mom also said they've nearly divorced a few times. I used to hear them fighting sometimes as a kid, now I guess I know why. You're probably thinking he just has adventurous tastes and this can't be that bad, so I'll give the full picture of everything she told me. Some of the things he's had are weird to standard Americans, but I realize might not be that weird other places, the kangaroo and horse for example, wolf, camel, shark fin soup. Some is questionable, I guess, such as something called ortolan bunting, look it up, and seafood eaten while still alive. Then some of it is straight up illegal. Like she said he once killed and ate a bald eagle, he hunts normal game which I knew but also protected species. He's obtained bush meat from African wildlife that's illegally imported here. This includes stuff like rats, various monkeys, chimpanzee, apes and gorillas, pangolin, porcupine, civets, and giraffe. From what my mom knows, he bought these from some markets in NYC that sold it in immigrant communities. It became even worse with other, exotic, animals. He has gone so far as to travel to other countries specifically to hunt, get meat from particular animals. These have included zebra, cheetah, elephant, hippo, Bengal tiger, endangered rhino, in places in Southeast Asia and Africa. He went somewhere in the Caribbean to hunt and eat dolphin. Brazil for anaconda. My mom says that a trip he's going on next month to China is specifically to try to find a way of eating Chinese salamander and panda meat. These are both very endangered species. It's seriously illegal there to kill pandas. That's not something Chinese people actually eat, but he's determined to do it. And he's been like that about some of the other ones I mentioned that are also rare or under protected status, like some types of gorillas and orangutans. Who hears of an endangered animal and thinks, aha, I want to eat that? WTF. Oh, and he also wants to go to the Antarctic to hunt penguin and whatever else is there before the ice melts. He's already been to the Arctic and eaten stuff there apparently. My mom has to snoop on his laptop to keep an eye on what he's doing since he stopped talking about it. He knows she doesn't approve, but she can't do anything. They just pretend it's not happening, and she reads his emails with contacts whenever he mentions needing to go on a trip, for work. She says it sounds like these people are involved in foreign animal trade networks. He's very secretive. She has to deliberately wait for a minute he's in the bathroom with computer logged in. She has been terrified for years that any day he's going to get arrested. They, my mom and younger siblings, rely on my dad's salary. My mom is disabled with a chronic illness and cannot work, so would only have disability checks to get by on. There's more she didn't even tell me because it wasn't appropriate, and refused when I said I could handle it. So I can only imagine what else he's done. I don't know what to do. My family is on the brink of falling apart and I never knew. I will never look at my dad the same again. This is really disgusting to me. My mom can't divorce him because they rely on him. She won't talk to her family about it because they just tell her to divorce. I know she's very anxious, but I feel like I've almost lost respect for her because she knew the whole time and never at least warned me. I'm also pretty sure she has lied to me saying we never had a cat when I was little, except I remember it and don't remember what happened to it, which now I'm sick thinking maybe my dad did something. My mom insisted I was thinking of someone else's cat, but there is a photo of me as a little girl with that cat on my bed. I'm in college on the other side of the country and only home for a few more days. My mom made me promise to never say a word to my dad, he'd kill me. This is all so fucked up to me. I'm really worried about them and what they'll do if he's caught. Also, WTF is wrong with him? What can I do? Should I confront him, or try to convince my mom to leave? Get her family involved. It's like disarming a bomb. I don't want to do anything that would just blow everything up, but I cannot imagine him just getting to continue doing whatever he wants. Relevant comments. Womp Womp Rats said your dad seems mentally ill. Not because of the weird meat, but because of the fucked up behavior around it. There are people who basically collect exotic meats or other foods by eating them, the same way others collect countries by visiting them. It can be an expensive pursuit, but he's pursuing it more like an addiction than a hobby, to the point of self-destruction. And the part where he tries to make the family complicit by sneaking rat meat into your burgers, that's a straight-up fetish. I'm gonna guess getting him into psychotherapy is probably a no-go, but he needs it. Op replies that's a good point, that it could just be a thing about novel experiences. But the illegal parts is what gets to me. It's not illegal to travel or try a bunch of foods in restaurants. He's eating and sometimes killing species he's not supposed to, and buying some of the meat on a black market or bringing it in himself. That part is really crazy to me. And yeah, I'm seriously sickened by the thought of what I might have eaten because of him. I want to help my mom, but I also hate that she let this go on. I feel like I can't trust either of them now. She didn't mention anything about therapy. I couldn't bring it up without him knowing I know, and my mom said I can't do that. She implied he could become violent. I don't know exactly, but it freaked me out. Update from the 2nd of February 2020. Well, shit's really fucked now. A couple days after I posted I went back to school, and a few days after that my mom called me. She'd woken up to him gone and an email saying he had to leave for China earlier than expected, citing some issue at his company. That's around when the virus was breaking out. Yeah, he took off as soon as he got word something was happening in case it was going to prevent his trip, my mom thinks. But it gets worse because apparently with increased security there something looked suspicious and he was detained last week. In China during this outbreak. My mom had federal agents coming to interview her, that was Friday. They had a warrant to search the apartment, didn't take anything because he'd brought all his electronics with him. She says she was told they have reason to believe he's involved in an international animal trafficking and poaching ring. She hasn't had any contact with him yet because whoever's holding him isn't granting it. We don't even know exactly where he is, if it was near Wuhan, or in a prison or what. She was just told she needed to cooperate and his safety was being handled. Obviously there's probably a lot more than they're saying because it's a serious crime and I imagine diplomatic relations are tense at this moment, but honestly, he put himself there. The Chinese authorities have every reason to arrest him. My mom has shared what she knows with the American agents, some of the stuff I said in my last post. I told her to get a lawyer. Because who knows if even knowing about that stuff and not reporting is a crime too. My dad deserves this, but my mom had no part in what he was doing. If something happens to her, I don't know what's going to happen with my siblings. I'm really fucking scared for my family, and furious with my dad for doing this to us. Plus Trump's travel ban means it's gonna be way more difficult to work everything out, so he could be sitting there waiting for trial for a long time. Even if they flew him back for trial, he'll be in quarantine for 2 weeks. I feel like I'm watching my family's life collapse in slow motion. I'm seriously considering taking a leave this semester and going home to try to help my mom. She's practically having a mental break. She decided not to tell my siblings the real reason dad is gone, so their imaginations are running wild. I've reached out to my aunt again, but she hasn't seen the message yet. I don't really trust my mom to manage finding a good lawyer and dealing with this and taking care of my siblings at the same time. On top of it, her chronic illness has flared up from the stress. She spent all yesterday in bed from pain, so that's where we are now. Fucked. I didn't get a chance to take the advice on my last post about where to report him, was doing more research first, but that turned out to not matter. Thank you to everyone who wished the best for my family. We could really use it.